What's going on, guys? We are back once again, and we are going to be continuing the Power Rangers review. And one of them that I really enjoyed when I was a kid, and I remember this came out, was Power Rangers Time Force. I remember Time Force when I was a kid. I remember just seeing the preview when I was younger and seeing how cool it looked, seeing Power Rangers from the future and the different Zords and all that stuff. And it's really cool by the way that they do this is pretty much having a characters that are from the future having to go in the past to track down because the way this works, if you guys have not seen Time Force is pretty much a uh I would say almost like police officers in a way, but they're also trying to handle monsters in the future, and then they kind of put them in carbonized, sort of like what they do in Star Wars. That's the closest way I know how to describe it. Something like Star Wars, what they do with these monsters. And what happens is you have the Pink Ranger, Jin, who is involved with the Red Ranger from the future, and then her and her team go back to go after the new villain by the name of Rancic, and she meets the Red Ranger's alter past version, who is Wes. And Wes is this. The best way to describe it is like a rebel tomboy, pretty boy, gets whatever he wants type of thing. And then as soon as he meets these guys, he kind of shows them how the world is in his time, and we kind of get to see how Wes becomes a pretty boy rich kid to becoming a soldier slash leader of this team. And we also get to see how Jen goes from one way to the next. Same thing with everybody else on the team. Now, overall, I really enjoyed this series. I really did. It's actually one of my favorite Ranger teams. And the reason why I say it's one of my favorite Ranger teams is because, one, the character progression, as well as also with what they did with these characters, because one of my favorite scenes through the entirety of this series of Power Rangers Time Force is where Eric and Wes, they literally have to fight together, and then they finally realize, hey, they're not so different. And we had Eric where he literally was one way, and then Wes was another way, and they changed themselves because they became Rangers. And I love when that happens, because you get to see certain people change when they become Rangers, and I love that. I love how they went from one being one way to another, and I thought that was really cool. And I love to see how the progression of how it was, because Eric, he was a hard ass. I mean, he really was. He was a hard ass, but he was a badass too when he finally became the Quantum Ranger. And then Wes was a rich kid snob, pretty boy snob is what he was. And then he finally, shrugged all that off and became a leader. He became a soldier. And I thought that was awesome. And then all these other ones that were, they were trying to get used to how being in this new frame was. And we got to see how, Wes and Jen formed this relationship, and how she pretty much fell in love with him, rather than the one that she thought that was dead, which was kind of interesting, because the one that was the future version of Wes is a different version, and he actually comes out to be alive, and Jen has to make a decision of, who does she choose. And then they want to stay in the past, but at the same time they can't, due to a lot of things that goes on in the future. So it's kind of interesting of how far the future is, and especially how far Power Rangers have become. So it's kind of making me wonder, like, how much further we're going to be able to go in Power Rangers before we get to Time Force for that timeline, as well as alternate versions of Power Rangers as well. So again, Saban and all the other ones, they had a plan, and they still have a plan somewhat. But again, like I said, overall, Power Rangers Time Force will always probably be one of my favorite ones to watch and really enjoy certain scenes. Like I said, that was a good scene. I like the scene where Wes had to get Jen out from under a spell, and then how Wes chose to become a Ranger over, going what his father wanted him to be and everything of that nature. So again, there was a lot of, choices that was made in here. And then there was another good scene where I would say Rancic's daughter, saves a baby, rather than, being an evil person. And she really sees, hey, she can be better than what she was. And they later do. And I love that. I really love how they went from one way to another. So overall, like I said, Power Rangers Time Force was always a good a good season and I think a good series. So overall, guys, what do you guys think of Power Rangers? What do you guys think about Power Rangers Time Force? Let me know down in the comments down below. If you guys are new to the channel, let's do subscribe and leave a big like on the video if you guys enjoyed. And I'll always be seeing you guys on the next one.